Okay, here we have our negative exponent rules, and this is the last of the exponent rules, so you can take a little deep breath after this. This says if a is a real number other than 0 and n is an integer, then a to the negative n equals 1 over a to the n. Well, let's see what's going on here. This will be a lot easier once we kind of have an example of what's happening. A while ago, we learned that if we have a quotient here, like let's say x squared over x to the fifth, then technically, when we are dividing like bases, we are supposed to subtract the exponent. So this would be x to the 2 minus 5 power, which would be x to the negative 3. Okay, let's see exactly what's going on here though. X squared, let me do this in red here so we can see the difference. X squared would be x times x, and x to the fifth would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those x's there. Now, we have a common set of factors on top and bottom that we could cancel out. We could cancel out this set of x's, and we could cancel out this set of x's. So what we're left with on top is not nothing, but a 1 over, and on bottom we have x multiplied to itself 3 times. So these are the exact same thing. Now, we don't like to write things with negative exponents. If you can correct it, make the exponent positive, you always should. That's by far the best thing to do. Now, so I want you to remember that a negative exponent is not a negative number. It truly is positional. It is saying that that thing, whatever that item is in the wrong position. Here, this x to the third doesn't belong on top, technically, which we could put this over 1 and we could make it look like a fraction. It doesn't belong here. That negative exponent tells you that it's in the wrong position. It belongs in the denominator instead of the numerator. And then the opposite of that is also true. If we have a negative exponent in a denominator, that means that, again, that this is in the wrong position, that it belongs in the numerator there. All right, so let's look at a couple of problems and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Now, this first one says, I want you to be careful about this because we need to know what is being raised to the negative power. This literally says 7 times x to the negative 3. That negative 3 is only affecting the x, not the 7. So 7 is fine as is. And we could even write it as 7 over 1 if we wanted to see it as a fraction. But this x to the negative 3, this negative exponent is telling us that this is not in the proper position. It doesn't belong in the numerator. It belongs in the denominator. So this would be 1 over x cubed. We correct the negative exponent by putting it in the proper position. And then when we go to multiply, this would just be 7 over x cubed. Now, as you start getting better at these, you'll start to see some shortcuts. Here we have a problem that says p to the negative 5 over p to the negative 4. Well, this negative exponent right here is telling us that this is not in the right position. This p actually belongs on bottom, p to the fifth. And then again, this negative exponent is telling us that this q is in the wrong position. We have to move it up to the top. So that means we're going to have q to the fourth on top. We've corrected the negative exponents, and there's nothing else that we can do with this.